Hi, welcome to the Fit and Healthy Show, and today our subject matter is detoxifying your body. The last two shows we've been reviewing chronic pain and the causes and some of the supplements that can help with chronic pain. Well, today we're going to be reviewing detoxifying your body because when you're toxic, you're going to have pain. Basically, the definition of detoxification from our standpoint is the process of reducing toxin buildup in the body fluids, cells, tissues, and organs. That's the bottom line, what we're trying to do, because these toxins, be them the ones we reviewed before, build up in the tissues and they cause inflammation, disease, cancer, viral, bacterial attacks. So the key is when you detoxify, your body will be more balanced and in more energetic, healthful, pain-fighting abilities. So we're going to talk about the 8 essentials. There's some disputes among people about, some people say there's 10 essentials, some say 7. But what I found to make it easy is there's 8 essential things when you're trying to detoxify the body. Number 1, you got to drink water. And we're talking about lots of water. And most of us, to maintain health, need to drink about 2 liters of water a day, 2 to 3, depending on your size of your body. When you're detoxing, you need to double that. And we're talking about good, clean, reverse osmosis water. We're not talking about distilled water. Distilled water doesn't have any minerals. It's not beneficial for the body. It's very clean. But if you do distill water, you better be putting some trace minerals back into that water, because actually that can disarm and disable the body's electrical function. So good clean water, lots and lots of it. And I mentioned on here 1 liter for every 30 to 40 pounds. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you're going to be drinking 4 to 5 liters of water a day when you're trying to detox. Water cleanses things. Just like it cleanses dishes in the sink, it cleanses the body. Sweating. Oh. As women, we do not like to sweat. I mean, we're throwing all these aluminum deodorants and everything else to keep our bodies from sweating. And I'm using the word sweat instead of perspire because we want to sweat. Obviously not when you're in a business meeting, but we want to sweat 10 to 15 minutes sessions by exercising, a bath detox, saunas. There's brand new infrared saunas that work very well. But I'm talking about really getting the sweat pouring. 10-15 minutes of that. Sweating is one of the best ways that the body can detoxify. Of course, we have elimination, and we'll talk about that further on. But you can get rid of so many toxins, beauty on the skin, build up in the blood. You need to sweat. Whatever means you choose. And last week we went over an easy bathtub one that you can do, just getting the body temperature up to 104 degrees. Move your body. You cannot move the lymphatic system or move anything out of the body unless you move. The bowels won't work right, the lymphatic system won't right, so you have to move. And I usually tell people when they come in, they have upper respiratory infections, I say, okay, I want you to do 20 jumping jacks 3 times a day. And they look at me kind of strange, because what happens is the body requires movement in order to move the lymphatic and to detoxify. If you lay in a bed the whole time while you're sick, good luck on getting well in any short period of time. You have to move. And sometimes a little bit of sweating, a little bit of moving the body when you're ill also will help get you well quicker. There's some studies to back that up. Breathing. And you sometimes will know when people get stressed, they'll sit there and they'll take a deep breath and they'll let it out, kind of like a sigh-like thing. What they found is when you do a couple of deep breaths every couple hours throughout the day, it really increases your mental alertness and your ability to deal with stress. Focusing and concentrating on breath. Obviously, if we didn't breathe, we would die. Getting the breath to be in a non-shallow fashion, very focused, enables the body to oxygenate and to detoxify. So, those nice, quick, deep breaths, or even sitting there, and not where you're making yourself dizzy and you're passing out, but to get some oxygen and to get the blood moving with the oxygen. Very beneficial, very helpful. And there's some nose breathing and some other things that you can kind of look online. You can probably type in detoxification breathing online, and YouTube will come up with a whole bunch of things you can look up. Even Jack LaLanne had some of those breathing exercises for detoxification. Elimination. Now, what's really interesting is in order to eliminate, you've got to, properly, you should have 2 to 3 bowel movements per day. If you want to cleanse, 2 to 4 week bowel cleanses in which you've got things like magnesium, certain types of herbs that stimulate the movement of bile. Those types of whole body types of cleanses stimulate the cleansing aspects of the body. And if you haven't ever done anything like that and your diet stinks, every 6 months to every year, doing one of these nice little whole body types of cleanses, preferably organic if you can, will get that body moving and your energy levels will rise. More of my customers comment that when they cleanse, how much better that they feel. And it is so true, so true. Organic cleansing diet, and we're going to talk about more cleansing later on down the road. Included in the 8 essentials are some of the supplements that we're going to talk about as well too. In my opinion, diet is the key to all health, whether you're trying to detoxify or you're not, or you're just on a regular daily basis trying to live life. You know, there's a lot of cleansing books out there. I mean, there's even the Idiot's Guide to Detoxing Your Body. There's super cleanse diets. There's things out there. And there's got to be a sense of reason about these. I've seen some of them are fasting cleanses, and they're very, very, very fancy. They're detailed. You got to drink so much maple syrup and all of this kind of stuff. And you know what? I think simple is always best. And with my own self, simple is always best because it's easier that way to remember. So there are questionnaires and books that you can get on cleansing. There's, like I said, lots of books that can find out how toxic you are and perhaps maybe the areas that you might require some additional cleansing in. Simple things like, do you brush your teeth every day? If you don't, you're going to be more toxic. Seriously, I know most people are like, whoa. Do you wear cologne or perfume? Yes, they're full of toxins and the chemicals that they use in those colognes and perfume. So there's a lot of things that that contribute to toxic or the toxins in our body, and we can kind of go through, and a lot of these books have little questionnaires you can go through, which can be very helpful. Most of the research that I found, number one, on the detox diets, were you've got to alkali the diet. Most people say, I don't like fruits and vegetables, and I'm like, well, good luck on detoxing, because to be honest with you, there isn't anything better than vegetable juices or vegetables to detox the body. Now, I'm talking about organically produced ones, not ones that are picked from the field that are full of chemical, organophosphates, pesticides, all this wonderful fertilizer crap. Chemicals that are in our body that DuPont likes to spawn off on everybody that are slowly killing us and making us toxic, affecting our hormones, our abilities to learn, all these things. When you're toxic, you don't function at your peak level, nor will you feel well. So, alkaline diet. Now, you can punch in alkaline diets. You can get books for alkaline diets. But basically what that means is you want a pH level that is alkaline. Now, there's acids and there's alkalines. And hopefully you remember from high school. You're probably saying you should listen better in high school to your chemistry and biology teachers. But the body needs to maintain a 7.35 pH in the blood. And so therefore you need to eat alkali-producing foods. And French fries and soda and junk food are very, very acidic. Artificial sweeteners, the most acidic thing that you can do on the list. So what you're looking for when you're trying to detox and on a daily basis, organic vegetables, and preferably when you're detoxing, no starchy carbs and no meat. And I don't care whether you're an O blood type, A blood type, B blood type, no meat. You need to do plant source proteins. You can do beans. You can do tofus if those agree with you. You can do all organic once again. Vegetable proteins. Meat takes an awful lot out of the body and a lot of enzymes to break down. And what we're trying to do on this detoxification is give your body a little bit of rest and to kind of treat it really nice, to show that you kind of care about it. In my case, I call it the temple of God, because it won't function well unless I treat it well. So you're going to avoid all the junk food, soda, coffee. Oh my gosh, makes you very, very acidic. And I know most people say, well, I need my coffee to get going in the morning. You know, 3 weeks ago, no more coffee for me. My energy levels have spiked tremendously. I don't require the caffeines anymore in the afternoon. I'm there. My energy levels are up. I'm sleeping better, everything. So from a detoxification standpoint, excessive amounts of caffeine, be it from coffee or from soda, I would dispose of that if you want your energy levels to feel better. And then starchy carbs, those sticky things that kind of glue and stick together, you want them out of your diet, because obviously they're going to be gooey and starchy in your bowel as well, and they're going to block your body's ability to detoxify. Drinking cleansing teas. You can buy detox teas. There's some of them that are strong every day. There's everyday detoxes, and there's stronger ones that you can do for actual cleansing. Those are helpful. And this is the next one is kind of an old-fashioned remedy, and that's to take a couple tablespoons of lemon juice in about 8 to 16 ounces of water, and I mean, you can do a teaspoon or a tablespoon, preferably fresh, in warm water, first thing in the morning. If you want something to alkali your blood and get you going and feel better and help with detoxification, this is definitely helpful. It breaks down fat, it aids digestion, it helps flush out the liver. Just simple, fresh, warm lemon water in the morning. An easy routine to do. You can even add a tablespoon of your Bragg's apple cider vinegar in there to help alkali the blood and aid the digestion as well. Now, when we're talking about supplements, I already kind of addressed the organic whole body cleanses. And those you can get in any good health food stores, and any good competent person in a store can help you get through that. But there are certain, and mind you, I don't have very many up here, certain things that you're going to want to look for when you're detoxifying. The whole body cleanses. There are also cleanses that will work specifically for parasites. There are cleanses that will work specifically for candida and for yeast. So if you have those issues, you can first of all do a whole body cleanse, do some of the alkaline detoxifying fruits and vegetables, just lots of good organic greens and oranges and all the good wonderful stuff. And then you can, when you're done with those types of cleanses, you can specialize and hit with parasites and yeast. Majority of this country has a lot of yeast because of all of the antibiotic usage, the fluoride in the water, all the chemicals that we ingest, over 3,000. Hey, umbilical fluid that they tested, you know how many toxic chemicals they found on an average in most women when they're pregnant? 287 toxic chemicals. So it's a really good idea before you get pregnant to detox. Okay, get your body as clean as possible, and will also help you with some of the morning sickness if you're not so toxic. Organic superfoods, the super greens, chlorella, spirulina, wheat grass, blue-green algae, barley grass. It's going to come out. Barley grass. They all are super greens that have very high chlorophyll levels that help detox on a cellular level. I probably do what would be equivalent to 2 tablespoons of spirulina powder, and I do some chlorella. It also binds to heavy metals and takes them out of the body. And if you're like me, and I've still got 1 dental amalgam filling in here, on one of these questionnaires, that's one of the things that goes towards me being toxic, is I've still got probably some leaking mercury going on in there. So those bind to heavy metals. Keeping the diet higher in fiber, obviously, lowers blood sugars. I mean, there's clinical data on literally 35 grams of good fibers literally, in some cases, can halt diabetes and bring down blood sugars 10 to 50 points. So keeping the fiber high in the diet. It also removes bowel toxins. It moves things along. It gets the estrogen metabolites gone. Very important to keep fiber up. To get those 35 grams, I want to tell you, you need to do about 10 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And most people, you're not doing that. I already know. We're lucky if we get the canned green beans at the end of the day. So some changing needs to happen. Some detoxifying herbs. Parsley uva ursi flushes the kidneys. Dandelion, which I thought was really interesting, is a natural diuretic, but it also helps clean the liver. But it's potassium sparing. Unlike a lot of the diuretic medications out there that you lose tons of electrolytes, dandelion, safe, been around a long time, and it's a mild diuretic that's potassium sparing. Green tea. I know Ralph talks about so many of the studies with green tea. And green tea is an excellent detoxifying agent. It's anti-angiogenesis. It doesn't allow tumors to grow. And it normalizes, believe it or not, vascular blood clotting. So if a person tends to have an issue with clotting and unclotting, like I do because of my family history, green tea is very, very important for normalizing the clotting process. Burdock root, red clover, blood detoxifiers. They can aid, and you can take them in tea forms or in pill forms. Digestive enzymes. Now, I once read this, and I know this sounds kind of gross, but that John Wayne had over 22 pounds of undigested meat in his bowel when they did his autopsy. 22 pounds of gunk, raw meat. Well, not raw, but undigested. Digestive enzymes help break down in the detoxification process. A lot of these foods that your body just held on to and just couldn't break down, and they just kind of sat there in a tar-like substance, and they're sitting there, making you have the nice little bulge. So that can be helpful. When you're detoxifying, don't forget a good multiple vitamin high in B vitamins, lots of extra C, and if you're going to use C to help you detox even more, you can do pretty high dosages up until you get about some diarrhea, then you're going to probably want to back out. B12, when you're doing detoxification, O blood types in particular, O blood types as a general rule, when they're not eating their meats and things, they need extra amounts of B12. There's sublingual under the tongue that you can take that can be very helpful to raise B12 levels. And as we grow older, we don't absorb B12 very well anymore, and so sometimes those sublingual pills are very helpful. A good multivitamin, multimineral. You're detox and you're getting rid of stuff, and you want to have the vitamins and nutrients that are going to help you with your detox. Adding that, and then to top it all off, your good bacterias. Because when you cleanse and you get all the stuff out of there, you got to put stuff back in there so it all doesn't happen again. So what we like to do is get the good bacterias up, aid your digestion, keep the immune system up, finish off the detox. Next, we're going to be moving on to the fitness portion of our show. Thank you very much. Of our show. And today, for the next couple weeks, we're going to be doing some yoga and Pilates moves. But before we start working on too much of that, I really want you to work on your balance, and that would be your core, being able to hold in balance. And this is going to be a very simple move. If you have to, you can grab onto a table. I don't have the best of shoes to show you how to do this, but here we go. I want you to see. This is going to be from a side view. And what you're going to do is you can hold onto the table if you want. In my case, I'd rather not. And I want you to put your leg up, and I want you to twist side to side with your hip flexors. Now, what I'm trying to do with this motion and movement is I'm teaching my body how to shift back and forth on the foot and improve my balance. Just standing there with your legs up just kind of makes you wobbly, but when you're moving things around, it teaches you, and you have to hold your core strong and tight in order to maintain your balance. So next show, we're going to be doing some moves. Work on that for the next couple of weeks. Thank you. And next we'll be moving on to the research portion of our show. Hi, welcome to the Fit and Healthy Newsroom, and our research analyst, Ralph Turchiano's got some information for you. Here we go.
Thank you for the intro.
You're welcome.
Remember many years ago how basically hormone replacement therapy was the king of prescription treatments? It was still the #1 prescribed thing out there. Well, a little bit more news came out about hormone replacement therapy today, which explains a lot, especially in the business that I'm usually in, because for a while we were getting a lot of women coming into basically my stores or our stores that were getting lung cancer, but they did not smoke. Well, the recent study in the Clinical Online Journal of Oncology came out that hormone replacement therapy raised your risk of lung cancer by 50%. Now, this was done over a 10-year period of time, and this was a sampling of about 36,000 people between the ages of 50 and 76. It says, and after adjusting for smoking, age, and other factors that affect the risk of lung cancer, the researchers determined that the use of estrogen and progesterone for 10 years or more years was associated with an increased risk for lung cancer compared with no use of hormone replacement therapy at all. Remember, they adjusted for smoking, age, and other lifestyle factors. So it's a clean study as they possibly can get, and they got that result at about an additional 50% increase, regardless of smoking or not. That explains a lot. That's why I wanted to introduce it into the show. After that, one of my favorite supplements. There's a disturbing estimate here. They now say about 1 in 10 adults suffer from kidney disease. 1 in 4 adults suffer from hypertension. So a lot of them are taking medications, especially one called Remipril. Well, one of my favorite supplements is called pine bark. Well, they did not do the study on pine bark by itself compared to Remipril, but they added pine bark, and sometimes called pycnogenol, as an adjunct to Remipril. And this was done at Guido Annunzio University in Italy, where they studied the individuals. They looked at Remipril by itself as far as reducing blood proteins, which is important in a person that has kidney disease. Well, by itself, the average person with 89 milligrams of urinary protein over a 24-hour period of time on Remipril was decreased down to 64 milligrams over a 24-hour period, which sounds decent, but still not good enough for health. When they added the pine bark extract, this medical adjunct, what they discovered, it went down to 39 milligrams over a 24-hour period of time. In addition, lowered the systolic and diastolic, and basically your blood pressure as a whole, and also C-reactive proteins on top of that. So pycnogenol may not be a bad thing on its own, as prevented in this case, just in case there's a suspicion of a kidney disorder or hypertension going on. But again, it's one of its new things it's shown to work with in combination with the medication, really enhance the treatment. However, though, I would have liked to see what pine bark did on its own without the medication, to see if the medication was even required at all. Then now, another popular subject, gluten intolerance. Many people are becoming gluten intolerant. Well, this research was done at the Academy of Finland's Research Program of Nutrition, Food and Health, otherwise known for short, Elvira. What they discovered was this. Gluten intolerance is hereditary to some aspect, no doubt about it. But many people have the genes which cause gluten intolerance, but they may never become gluten intolerant. What they said was, quote, the genes that predispose the people to gluten intolerance are very widespread in the population. And as a result, they are only a minor part of the explanation for a way in which gluten intolerance is inherited. So what they came out with is they were looking at it and they found that viruses can trigger gluten intolerance. So the trick now is to find out which virus causes that. Now they didn't say which ones do it, but it gives an added window. And on top of that, they said the only treatment right now for gluten intolerance today is to maintain a gluten-free diet. Whole other subject you may want to research on your own. But if you don't, be prepared for a whole world of hurt and inflammation inside the gut. And now for another famous one. Now, if you're an athlete, or let's say you're not even an athlete, let's say you're a young kid, adult, you go into the gym trying to build muscle, let's say even trying to lose weight, and you want to get your body fat down and your lean muscle up. Well, when the number one supplements for this action, or for this to get these results, ironically, is vitamin D again. What they did, and this is the weird part about it, this was in the 2010 Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. They just took kids in California, of all places California. They found out still to this date, with all the information in regards to vitamin D being out there, 59% of the people were still deficient in vitamin D. Ironically, even a smaller group of that, about a quarter of that group, was clinically severely deficient, meaning 20 nanograms per liter of blood of vitamin D. That is really bad, especially in today's world. What they did is they looked at it. When they saw low vitamin D levels in the blood, it directly correlated with increased fat mass in the muscle. Much like how you look at a piece of meat and you see all the marbling and all the fat in there, that's exactly what happens to the body. They didn't try to speculate why it did, but it did. They also noticed that low vitamin D levels directly were related to basically visceral fat, especially around the midsection itself. So, for anybody looking at an exercise program, a diet program, really the first place you should check is boost your vitamin D levels. It's worth a shot, it's cheap, and it's something you require for long-term health. And now to another one. Papaya made the news, and this comes in regards to cancers. This was in the February 17th issue of the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. They took papaya tea, just papaya tea by itself, and they exposed it to certain cancer lines, 10 cancer lines per se. And this is what they said. Colleagues in Japan documented papaya's dramatic anti-cancer effect against a broad range of lab-grown tumors. Keep in mind, this is not an animal or human yet, but they found out that the papaya itself basically caused the cancer cells and tumor cells to die on their own without, they said, having any toxic effect on normal cells, avoiding the common and devastating consequence of many other cancer therapies themselves. So, also papaya had incredible inflammation and autoimmune disease effects as far as reducing it, especially through the production of something called Th1 cytokines. So, when in doubt, papaya is not a bad adjunct to that diet after all. If someone's concerned about cancers and tumors, you know what? Simple thing to add. And now, back to bisphenol A. The reason I wanted to save a little bit of time for bisphenol A is for one main reason: I want it out of our environment, period. As scrolling the headline, this came from Yale School of Medicine. Exposure to BPA may cause permanent fertility defects, the researchers found. They say, quote, this common component of plastics in bottles, plates, you name it, causes permanent abnormalities in the uterus of the offspring, including alterations in their DNA. This is the March issue of the Journal of Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology. They also found that mice exposed to BPA as a fetus had an exaggerated response to estrogen as adults. Long after the exposure, the genes were permanently programmed to respond excessively to estrogen. I mean, now we look at this. How many more warning signs do we really need on BPA to actually permanently alter the genetics of our entire country because we're too lazy or too economically bound not to find a better solution? So if you really care about the health of your children and the health of your family, start moving towards BPA-free plastics. It would do a world of good. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Ralph. We appreciate the research. Once again, research for yourself, practice those exercise, detox the body, and get healthy. Thank you very much.